Not a problem until it's a problem.
That's exactly right.
What would you be doing if you were there?
Probably playing Call of Duty.
No way.
The internet would be out.
No, it wouldn't.
We are on a main thoroughfare, so like the internet and the power doesn't go out there. If it does, that means that World War III just happened.
Oh, I see.
You know.
You don't have backup power or anything like that? No.
Wood stoves.
Yeah, that doesn't get you electricity.
You don't really need electricity. You need heat when it's cold. Water.
What do you mean you don't need electricity?
How are you going to play Call of Duty if you don't have electricity?
Got batteries.
What are you playing Call of Duty on?
Laptop.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Online?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, like
for like 2 hours, he means, and then it'll be
that's true.
It'll be gone.
Well, no, but my point is you still have to have like a router and stuff, so that you're going to have power.
Hey, the one at the shop, it has
Into the mic, dear.
the one at the shop has Wi-Fi, like it has a 5G backup. Dude, you got it hot as F in here.
No, I didn't.
No, it's not. You're
I just
just moving around too much.
Yeah, maybe that's true. You were just on a panel with Jeff.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
Nobody could hear anything.
I know, and
Yep.
Jeff was facing the panelists, not the crowd.
No, when he was soliloquying.
So when he was what?
Soliloquying.
That's a
That's
big
a
word
word.
like mayonnaise.
I'm pretty sure that's a word.
Can you give us the definition of the word?
It's solo exposition. Soliloquy. I just don't know if you can verb it. Soliloquying. When he was giving us his soliloquy,
He was take you home tonight and give you some soliloquy.
Oh no soliloquies from. I'll pass on that maple flavored soliloquy.
What have you done? Jeff, does it come out as maple syrup? I just have to know.
Oh no!
David's out there lapping it up like a dog out of a water bowl.
Chris Enright's poor wife. She's sitting in this class, and apparently they just start flinging inappropriate comments as a joke around the. Everybody just keeps throwing another joke, and she's like, I'm like, I'm not around this. This is not what I want to sit through. And she up and left the class.
What class was it?
I don't know.
Let me find out. It was Carm Capriato.
That was a round table. That was in the class.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I heard it went well though.
Yeah. It looked like it was full.
But she was sitting through and she's like, I don't. So I get a little worried because sometimes we say inappropriate things, like what you just said.
Yeah, we're pretty inappropriate.
Well, what if a technician's wife is listening to this and they're like, "This isn't what I signed up for. This is the filth you listen to." What's the guy supposed to say? Yes.
Yeah, pretty much. Because, like, let's be honest. At this point, you don't let us talk about anything automotive, and so, like,
Why am I here again?
yeah, I was trying to figure that out myself. So, I mean, like, it's
not just about automotive. It's about life. We just happen to be shop owners.
What's the name?
You're
of
the one
thing?
talking about Jeff's
Hold on.
Little Smoky.
Changing the industry. You didn't say the automotive industry.
Yeah, we're changing lots of industries.
So
You can't change the industry if you don't change the people. You can't change the people until you have the conversations. You get different ideas out there. People start to consider different things, and they go, you know what? I don't want to.
Hey, you're supposed to stick your tongue out.
That was $15. You tell that guy it's $15 for my pick. This is ridiculous. People taking unauthorized pictures mid talk. Anyway, that was distracting. Next year we close the blinds.
you
We're not here
really
next
should
year.
be on this side.
What's that?
You should be on this side.
Oh, that's a good
No,
idea.
because all the guests would be like, "Oh, hey," and then that's distracting too.
Put David over there on a seat without a back on it.
Without a back.
Yeah.
Why?
Just so you can sit there and poke your butt out at him.
There you go. They can. I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that. Anyway, so you're trying to change. You're trying to change people, not an industry. You're just trying to change individuals.
Bring up the dialogue, which which encourages them to think outside the box a little bit, think differently.
Think differently, maybe, or maybe not. Maybe it reinforces some of the things that they're doing, and then shake things up a little bit. If we just keep having the same boring ass conversations about, you pay appropriately and take care of the customers and see, that's why I don't have one of them deals like flag me with the messages. I couldn't all day long. I'd be looking down every 2 seconds.
Saves me from
looking at the phone. Yeah, but I don't want to know. It's a surprise because you open your phone and you're like, ooh, I got messages, and then it's all spam, and you're like, oh, nobody likes me. I forgot.
Yeah. He gets messages from me from time to time. I hate you. I get messages from him.
No, that's a voice. It's a voice text. It's a voice message.
It's a message. I didn't say.
Hey, I wanted to let you know I hate you. Like, thanks. That's great.
We have the kind of relationship where, when one of us needs something, we reach out.
Yeah.
Completely okay with that.
Yeah.
Because if he needed more attention than that, I couldn't give it to him.
Yeah.
At least not constantly, currently.
I mean, I get it. He's a busy guy.
He's got a lot of fires going. Mobile stuff, right?
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Doing a little
Are
bit.
you still doing teaching?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Still doing teaching. Top Don.
Top Don. What are you doing for Top Don?
Tech support.
Oh, I thought maybe you were babysitting Hawken.
Is Hawken your boss?
Technically on paper, yes.
What does that mean on paper? He's going to hear this and be like, what do you mean on paper?
No,
like,
he knows. He's yeah. Oh, I was joking with him last night. I was like, if whenever or if I ever were to let go, you have to fire me, right? He's like, what? I was like, you have to do it. You're my boss. And he's like, yeah, maybe technically, but I'm not your boss. I was like, I mean, I know, but I want you to do it if it ever has to happen.
Hey, this guy's really got a serious toxicity problem, and I'm going to have to let him go. Chad, I need you to sign off on this. Margaret's pretty cool. You met Margaret?
Who's Margaret? Who are we talking about?
Hawkins' wife?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
She'll be here today. She should be here any time now, actually, I think.
Yeah. She's pretty smart.
A lot of people brought families.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it was a better show this year.
How so? It was a good show last year.
It was, but it seems smoother this year. Maybe it's because I'm on the inside and I know that it's smoother, but what do you think? You were here last year, weren't you?
I was here the last 2 years, and I can tell you there was some serious, we'll say leadership issues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because, at the end of the day, it's...
Lack of direction?
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's all going to fall on one person.
Mike Allen. Yeah, I know you're right.
Well, now, yeah, but it wouldn't have before.
No,
right?
It would have been Mike Allen.
Yeah?
For the last 2 years, it would have been Mike Allen.
Oh, well, then I blame him for not handling the problem sooner.
Yeah, see? See?
We blame everything on Mike Allen. For example, Mike Allen, you shouldn't have changed the name. That was a terrible idea.
I'm not going to disagree with you.
We crossed that bridge.
Absolutely. By the way, this is a podcast recorded at ASTE 2024.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think I'm... Look. I am the chairperson of the events committee. So if I just say, hey, Jesse, just change all the letters to E instead of A, I mean, like, what are they? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'll just take the blame for it.
Do it.
I think that'd be the better way to go.
I know what he went for. The problem, though, is that had it been a really small show and then he wanted to make the change and the sort of rebrand and pivot, but to have like a huge event last year, tons of people. It was big last year. And everybody's excited for it the following year. And then, hey, we changed the name. Like, okay.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't even know it was still happening because of that.
Just confusion. Yeah. It's not,
It's bigger this year.
Is it?
Mm-hmm. Registration-wise. I don't know if that means people showed up because of the weather, but...
Yeah.
I don't know. We need to change the timing of this thing, clearly, because every year seems to be
a hurricane
right now.
There was no hurricane last year. There was no hurricane.
It was the one before.
The year before that, there was a hurricane.
Yeah, you're right.
And it's really not that big of a deal right now. I mean, it might be a pain in the butt for people to get in and out, but it's not that bad right now.
No, it should be cleared out by Sunday.
Yeah.
It'll be in the middle of the country by then.
What do you think about it this year as a vendor and teacher? Are you teaching?
Are you teaching?
I'm not teaching at this one.
See?
That's
there you go.
screwed
There's
up.
another problem.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think CTI has one sponsored instructor here.
Yeah, but I went to.
There's lots of
we had classes change at the last minute, and I said to Jesse to call you or Hawken to see if one of y'all could teach a class. But I don't know how that played out.
I never heard from anybody.
I told Hawken. I guess I should have told you.
Yeah.
Hawken tells everybody everything. I'm sort of surprised.
Yeah. Well,
I've never sat through one of your classes. Are they mostly
really good.
case studies?
so I mean, what I had been teaching for the last, almost 2 years now, it's been CTI classes. Redone a little bit with what, naturally with my own stuff.
Sure.
But, there's usually case studies in there.
Yeah. But it's
but
not just case studies?
No. That's,
I don't know.
think
That
that's
seems to be
near
a
as
trend.
effective unless it has to be done just right. 'Cause you
Well,
have to
that's a
pull out-
trend. I'm just telling you. Like,
you have to
I don't
pull
know
out
how many.
those teaching moments every time. Otherwise, it's just like, okay, that was a cool case study. No, there's a
Yeah.
point behind them. And if there's not, then what's the point? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, that's nothing more than and I think like Sean does a great job when he does with his podcast, when he does like, okay, well, here's what, it's a case study, but he always points out where he went wrong or what was tough. And
Yeah.
I mean, nobody
For
cares
sure.
about the ones that were easy and went quick, which he obviously gets. And, but he does a really good job of pointing out,
For sure.
this is where I went wrong. And
Right.
that's-
And that's a big deal, right? Because especially when it comes to like, the number of really basic problems that I overcomplicated and that it was like my misdirection. I took the wrong step and I didn't do the one test. And like we had a conversation the other day with Noah and I don't, it is what it is. Like diags don't always go right, but it was a misfire on a Subaru and he went to the advisor. I'm not like, I used to be in the middle of those communications. They would come to me once they send it to the advisor, et cetera. Well, I'm not in the middle of that. And so he had gone, and the coil connector was completely snapped off of this car. But the misfire was intermittent. And had he done a wiggle test, had he gone and like tried to rule out the fact that, and it's not that the ignition coil connector didn't need to be replaced. The ignition coil connector had to be replaced no matter what.
right.
I could have found the problem, all right? Had a faulty injector. I could have found the problem without changing the coil connector. Make sense?
Sure.
And,
Absolutely.
And so it's the little things like that. Those were the mistakes that I always used to make because I'd rabbit hole myself and I'd go like one direction.
Well, hold on. Time out. So he's got a misfire. He sees the connector's broken.
Swaps
he
coil,
orders-
swaps coil, swaps. I think he even swapped the plug, trying to move fast. The misfire didn't move, and he said, "Hey, I have to change the coil connector before I do anything else."
Okay.
But the problem is that because the misfire was intermittent,
Uh-huh.
and it couldn't be duplicated by moving the coil connector unless you unplugged it, it would lead me in a direction that, hey, maybe I shouldn't be replacing just the coil connector. There might be something underlying. I
So
prefer to go
did
to
the
front
car
with a
leave?
single. No.
Then what's the problem?
It's not that it's a problem. It's that it's another call back to the client. It's another delay in the shop. It's another thing where we have to stop the process.
Yeah, but I don't know if the connector was broken. The connector was broken and not working, or it was working just broken.
It was working. It was just broken.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
Right.
I mean, I just, so I did a network class last week and I did another one beginning of this week. And one of the things that, it just happened to come up with where we were basically trying to prove out, okay, is this a module or a communication issue? And again, when you're dealing with communication things, it's not always a communication problem as much as it is just a powering ground or something.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, one of the things in there was, I emphasized, and it's, I think it really sets people apart when they're doing diagnostics is if, okay, I need to replace this and then we can go from there. Well, hold on. What is it that we're trying to achieve by doing this?
Yeah.
Can we bypass it? Can we overlay? Can we do something to make it work for now?
To rule
Prove
it out.
anything beyond that.
Yeah, me
and
too.
so
That's
now,
how I
granted,
believe.
It's always easier to talk about it than it is to remember when you're in the moment.
Yeah.
It's always harder when you're in it right there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, just to be able to do something like that and be able to say, okay, no, I know the rest is good, or no, we still have something else going on.
Well, one of the things that I've found, especially when it comes to network diag, is that it seems to be the one thing that people pigeonhole or panic on all the time, right?
Really?
But at the
Why?
end of What?
Why?
I think they tell themselves it's more complex than it is. They overthink
Psych
it
themselves out.
and they psych themselves out, and they begin to like try and make shifts and changes. And like, think about the number of times that you've changed something on a car that affected something else. And it's like, dude, before you change anything, like, let's collect data first. Let's slow down for a minute. Let's understand how it works before we do anything else. Because if you don't, like, that's the biggest issue, is they don't understand how it works.
Yeah.
So they start to like reel, and they start to like throw things at it and panic and try and do this one test, but they don't know how to interpret the test. Right. And so it's like, I'll never forget asking Eric. I said one time he had a can high circuit up on a lab scope, and I said, "Tell me, what does that mean?" He just looked at me with this blank stare. I said, "Seriously, like, what does it mean?" He's like, I don't know. It's dropping packets somewhere. I'm trying to figure it out." And I'm like, "Tell me what that means." And he said, I don't understand. I said, "Well, what's the network communicate at? What voltage does the network communicate at?" He tells me. I said, "Okay. Is it at 0 volts?" He said, "No." "Okay. Is it at 12 volts?" He said, "No." I said, "Okay. What does that mean?" He said, "I don't know. You tell me." And I said, "Well, it means it's not shorted to power and it's not shorted to ground."
Right.
Like, let's start ruling out like the little things and start trying to understand.
I mean, I believe 95% of network problems can be solved with, test light or a multimeter.
Yeah.
I mean, you rarely need much more than that.
Dude, I'm telling you, I go to a voltmeter and either a load pro or a test light on the voltmeter, right? Just to put a little bit of load on something. And that's, if I'm working in the shop, that's 90% of what I use.
What?
And like, Eric's over here pulling the scope out, confusing the shit out of himself. And he's like, "I don't know what's going on."
And it's easy to do until you realize that if you stop and think about the whole thing and what you're actually looking at the end of the day, communication, what really is it? It's still just voltage.
Yeah.
Is it in the right range? Is it doing what it should look like it's doing? Move on,
I'm curious to see, right now we're still primarily on CAN. There are some fiber networks in cars. I'm curious to see the day that we go to a star configuration Ethernet network.
Oh, we're on them.
Right. And well, I'm talking about like widespread.
Right, sure.
Because like I love that, right? In other words, for instance, with a network snooping tool, I can look at it and say, all right, what can I talk to? What can I find? What's the address? Right. And I think that for me is a much easier way of looking at it. Like right now we have all these communications on one network, one circuit, and I can't really look at those communications and pinpoint by looking at the waveform. There's that message right there. And I know that message is faulty, right? Whereas with Ethernet, I can say, okay, I want to talk to this address. Tell me what this address says. How fast can I get to this address, right? I'm able to go back and forth and talk to it, and I can understand the protocol. I'm really curious to see what their protocol is going to be in the access protocol, right? Because like they're going to want it to go through their scan tool, the OE tool. They're not really going to want to tell you, hey, here's this network address. I'm like wanting a command prompt so I can pull up a command prompt and ask it questions, right?
I'm going to ping it and find out what happens.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. Exactly. I think that's going to be which I mean, GM, when we were at ETI, that was one of the neat things that GM was talking about, because like they were talking about their network infrastructure in the automobile. And they said, we started with a computer and sensors, and all the sensors reported back to the computer. And then we went and we expanded that to where we had multiple computers and sensors feeding multiple computers, communicating across a network between the computers. And then we went to where each of the end devices, door lock modules, door modules, seat modules, they all are their own computer as opposed to having a switch, right? And now they're going the exact opposite direction, and they're going to have the gatewayed modules, and they're going to have modules configured in such a way that there are unsecured side modules, right? So in other words, this is outside the secured network. This is inside the secured network. And everything reports back to those modules. in a tiered fashion, right? And so I'm just curious to see, because I love the engineering of that. I love like network
such a
configurations.
dork.
Dude, I love it. I eat it up. What?
It's stupid.
Why is it stupid? Like, I mean,
That wasn't nice. We
you think of,
we don't say food's stupid, and you
Food
love
isn't
food.
stupid.
That's right, but that wasn't nice.
You think of like the network in your shop, right? Like being able to look at that and understand what it does and why it does what it does.
Does it work? That's it.
But when it doesn't work, it's a pain in the butt.
I go
right?
buy a new one.
He's like got this mesh Wi-Fi network, right? And he's got this sucker set up, and I'm like, dude,
No, I bought the Ubiquity.
I gave you the Ubiquity.
No, I didn't use that thing. Was like it was. I tried to get it out of the box, and it was so old it like started disintegrating my hands. This was way before. I bought the. You sent me a link. Anyway, I bought the little doodad. I've got one in the front of the shop and the one in the back of the shop, and it all connects to the little Ubiquity box. It's crazy fast.
You know, here's what's interesting about that.
Everybody complains about it. They're like, your internet sucks. It's not the internet, dude. It's your device or the website.
It's the installer.
It's just one wire. It's
There's
BOE.
configurations that you have to do inside, right? And band optimization, and
I don't know what you're saying. I let the app do it. The app does it on my computer.
there were people who were.
He's a tinker. He's going to go in and he's like, I'm going to read the manual. Or no, he's not going to read the manual. He's going to watch YouTube videos that explain the manual. And then he's going to be like, see, what it does is nobody's going to care. And he's going to sit there and tinker with it and get maybe 10% better performance than you would just out of the box. Boom.
That's what makes us good at what we do.
How does that make you good?
It's an entire mindset. It's how we do approach things.
To tinker?
To know how it works, to fix it, to mess with it, to change it.
I'm okay knowing how it works. Maybe. It just depends. Like, if I'm going to spend time learning it, I got to know that there's a return. I'm going to figure this out, learn this, and here's the return. If the return is you get slightly faster internet, not double the speed, that kind of makes sense. But you're going to get slightly better internet and less congestion. You get 75 devices on here. They'll all work fairly the same for the most part.
You and I have very different types of ADHD.
I don't have ADHD. That's insane.
So
Why would you think
I clearly do. And I can fix this.
Yeah.
And then hours later, it's usually fixed, but it's like, wow, that's a lot of time that's gone.
It is.
But I do know a lot more now.
And you have to balance it, right? Like you have to balance that, because especially as a shop owner, one of the things I've ran into is I liked being the hero, and I like going out and fixing the cars, and I liked finding the problems that nobody else has. And I have had to take myself and say, that's not where your knowledge and the effort that you put in to learn something is valuable to the shop anymore, right?
I like to know about the problem. I will say that. I'm not saying that I don't do that. You know, I had an issue with the washing machine. It's a fairly new washing machine. I'm really annoyed that these things are all junk. By the way, my dryer is from like 1997. Still works.
Yeah.
Just fine. The washing machine, however, whatever. So did I start looking up, and I'm like, okay, let's figure out how this thing works and this and. But I did set myself a limit where I'm like, hey, I'm going to only put so much effort into this. What I don't want to do is get screwed. I don't want somebody to come in here and just start telling me a bunch of junk. I haven't looked into it. I'm skeptical, like I said, of everything. And so I want to be able to know that if I do have to have a repairman come in, I'm going to know enough that I'm going to know whether they're BSing me or not. That's my limit, though, because I don't care about washing machines. I could give two craps about learning about them.
I just went through this with mine. I just stopped, wouldn't unlock, wouldn't do anything. Lid wouldn't open. It's full of clothes that we need.
Of course, yeah.
I know. I think it was our towels or something. So it's,
yeah.
And I was like, I guess I need to take a look at this. I'm getting ready to head out of town.
Yeah.
And we have a home warranty too. We pay a deductible, and Either they fix it or we get a new one.
Right.
Yeah.
I went through and I looked at it, and it took a couple hours ultimately because I had to try to find some information that wasn't that available. But I mean, it needed a main board. It was not basically the code came down to say it is not receiving power.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't have power coming from the wall. Okay, well, that's clearly there.
Yeah.
And I'm I'm on the board testing, and it's like it's got power to the board. So
There's not only so much I can do beyond this. Yeah.
And so I said, I mean, according to the service manual, that's where I would be, and that's where I would say we need a board.
Yeah.
Because that's all they're going to do, if at that. And so I was like, okay, well, this isn't something. Well, how much is this board? If it's not that much, I'll just do it. No, it's $400 or $500 for the board. I'm like,
You can get another washing machine for that.
right. So they come out. Of course, I had to leave. Then they come out and look at it, and then they're like, okay, well, I had to get the stuff out and let it dry out, take it somewhere to get it cleaned. So opening it, I'm like, okay, where's this circuit go? And I basically unlocked it myself. I just applied power from another part of it and popped
clink.
it.
Yeah.
And so the guy comes out and he's looking at it, he's like, oh, this lock doesn't seem to work. And this is all I find out afterwards because I'm gone and my wife's there. And she said the lock wouldn't work. And she's like, did you mess with the lock? And she's like, no. He's like, okay, because if you mess with the lock, it's not covered. Yeah. Good call, babe. I'm like,
Well, why would that have to do with
right?
anything?
And then he's like, well, I've got to order this lock before I can do anything. And he said, listen, I know this isn't going to fix it, but this is what I have to start with. And that's my whole point of what we just talked about, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
that was a cop out.
It was.
That was 100% of a
and
cop
I'm
out.
like,
See,
and it
that's
was
the
one of
thing
those-
I'm talking about. That's why I'm like, I'm going to dig into this and be like, that guy is BSing me.
Yeah.
Like, I know he's BSing me. You kind of get the vibe sometimes, even if you don't know.
Yep.
Like, that guy's BSing me.
But the thing is they don't. The reason many of them are BSing you is because they don't know.
They're not trained.
Yeah, they're just guessing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Then what am I paying him for?
I wish we had the answer to that.
Yeah.
But
That's, well, it took almost 2 weeks for that lock to come in and then get it back out there.
and then just to say,
Just to say it needs a board.
Yeah. And then he did that. And he's like, oh, it's doing the same thing. And I said, yeah, absolutely doing the same thing, right? I said, you knew this wasn't going to fix it. And because I wasn't there the first time. So I was like, you knew that wasn't going to fix it.
Yeah.
You probably could have bypassed that and found something else out. And I also understand and empathize with him a little bit that he probably got this job and has not been really trained.
Yeah.
So it's,
I don't know.
I don't know.
At the
Where do you
same
go to get
time,
training
though,
for-
yeah. How do you get training
how do you
on
get training for that if you work for a company and they don't train you?
800,000 different washing machine models?
Honestly, a basic electrical class like we would do would
90%
really help
of it.
them.
90% of it.
Yeah, maybe.
they
90,
don't
it
know
would.
that,
It
right?
wouldn't if the manufacturer gave them schematics.
Well,
That would.
They had it.
yeah, that's
Oh,
what I
did
was
they?
getting.
Oh, okay.
That's what I was getting ready to say, though.
Yeah, he's got no excuse.
Is
The schematics is like that's where I get
Yep.
like upset because I'm in there going, I need a wiring diagram.
Yep.
Like this is what I need.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: is that there is a little bit of planned obsolescence happening.
Yes.
And, I've upset people before when I've said, I just do not think that I'm not talking about manufacturers, okay? I know some of the manufacturers, and they've offered to put on training for us. I know that manufacturer training from the manufacturer is good, right? I know that's good training. The training that the dealers are advocating for their technicians is not designed to teach them to be technicians. It's
Yeah.
designed to teach them to be parts changers, right?
Absolutely.
And it sucks. It's frustrating. I hate it. I don't like it a bit. But that is exactly where we're at. And I guess my point in saying that is we talk about right to repair a lot. If we don't stand up and at least get some type of legislation, we will go the same direction that washing machines have gone. You have to replace it. You have to replace
I'm not against that. I have no problem with that if the cars are cheap.
it. Yeah, I could see that.
Because if it's $800, if
fair
it's
enough.
$8,000 to fix the car, you can get another one for $9,000. You just get another car.
I'm with you 100%.
They can't be $60,000 for a sedan and $110,000 for a truck. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I was talking to Carm yesterday, and Carm said,
Carm Capriato.
Yeah.
Remarkable results radio.
"Yep,
Is there another one?
I don't think there's another Carm, is there?"
Okay. Just want to make sure since he asked.
Well, so I was talking to Carm, and Carm said, well, what do you think happens then when the Chinese flood the market with super, super cheap Chinese cars?
Papa Biden stopped that nonsense. He did. He stopped it. They were going to. They're 100% coming to market. And then when they threw up the tariffs and said, hey, it's going to be 100% tariffs to import these electric vehicles, China went to Mexico and said, we're just going to build them in Mexico and then flood the market with it.
BYD.
But I guess my point.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I think my point.
They're like $9,000.
Yeah, and at that point, I mean, what does that do? What economic impact does that have on the United States economy? What impact does it have on GDP?
I don't. If the factories and the tier one manufacturers are in the U.S., then it's whatever. It's just a market shaker. The problem is it's all coming in from overseas. Mm-hmm. They're getting the benefits. Chinese companies, Chinese investors, Mexican factories, and the consumer wins, I guess, because now they have cheap EVs to buy. And you're just trying to get from point A to point B like me. I could give a crap what that car does.
What about
to my
everybody
phone
that's
and can I go?
Employed for that entire infrastructure?
What's that?
What about everybody that's employed to support that infrastructure currently?
Well, that's what I'm saying. The consumer will win, and it's everybody else that is going to lose.
Okay.
Yeah, the consumer will win.
It's going to really impact everyone else that relies on those jobs to.
Yeah, well, I mean, it impacts.
That's why they stopped it.
It impacts the repair industry, right? Even independent. It impacts the dealers, right? And
everybody's screwed, and it's not the from a capitalism standpoint. You want to let the market do what it does. The problem is the Chinese government is subsidizing
the
production of those. It's a $20,000 vehicle.
For top down, you can't say that.
It's a USA.
Yeah, I was just kidding.
That was a bad joke.
Well, let's face it, Top Down USA is just Top Down. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, at least it's not Alltel, right?
They are. Why are you trying to burn bridges here?
Wow, man.
I love the Autel. I think it's fantastic. I would have bought an A1900 or a what is it? IA 900. Yeah. IA. Yeah, it's an IA 900. That's what I would have bought. Instead, you bought a Think car thing or whatever. What are they called? Isn't it a Think?
The Think.
No. Launch, Think car, Top Down.
They're all the same? Similar, yeah.
And you know what? That top down works really well. Like I got one for heavy duty. It works so well.
Works even better when you do the updates.
Yeah, as I was going to say, as long as it's charged and as long as your technician installed the updates.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
that fixes a lot of issues.
That was the old. That was the old. The directive on the Autel, like, hey, don't update unless you can't do something. Then try to do the update and see if it'll go. That's what they used to tell you on the Autels.
Yeah, they something happened the past few weeks, and they said update all of them. They don't work. Sorry, our bad. What do you think of that? What's your? There's a lot of hurt feelings right now.
I mean, there's a lot I don't know, right?
Yeah.
Let's face it. There's a whole lot I don't know that I'm really trying to go to ETI, but Dad, if you listen to this, I'd really like to go to ETI.
Well,
so there's a lot I don't know that I think I could get some answers there. Mm-hmm. However, at the end of the day, if they're going to try to comply with what NASTF wants, they've got to play by the rules right now, right?
So here's my take, okay? Here's where I think all this went sideways. There were recordings that were released of Donnie that were not like from NASTF, that were edited. And they were edited to make it sound like he was saying something different. I can't speak 100% for what they're doing and why they're doing it and all that stuff. What I can tell you is A, I don't think that they're bad people, and I don't think it's just about making money based on what I've seen. Not what they've said, based on what I've seen.
Who, NASTF?
Yeah.
I thought they were a nonprofit.
They are. Second thing.
Then what the crap? Who's complaining?
Okay. There's a lot of people upset about access. The second thing is this.
I'd be upset about access too.
The same person who did all that was also saying bad things about ETI. Now, I know the people at ETI. David knows the people at ETI. They are not bad people. And they are absolutely, in no way, shape, or form, working to do anything to hurt this industry. They're not working to lock people out. They're not working to make sure certain people don't have access. They're not working to make money from this. They're working to make sure that we have what we need to fix cars. And they're working very, very hard to make the manufacturers come to the table and say, hey, here's the data you need. Let's work together. Let's make this better. Let's provide the access, right? There's zero doubt in my mind. I mean, I'm telling you, like not even a hint. And so I watched those people when some of those videos came out, and we were sitting at dinner in California. And I said, how do you feel about that? And they said, well, we can sit here and laugh because we know. Like you're sitting here, you know that's not true. We know it's not true. Everybody that attended knows that's not true. Why would we worry about it? Like, why would that person have any weight with us? Why would it? Right? And so, it frustrates me because I know that lies are being shared about them. Right? And these are people I care about. These are people who have done a lot to help us. So that's one. Two is I learned from attending ETI that it's not Donnie doing this. It's not ETI doing this. It is the manufacturers doing this. And one way or another, they're either going to lock us out or we're going to play by their rules to gain the access. And so from my perspective, it's not a situation of NASTF is doing this. It's NASTF is saying, if we don't do something and we don't have a protocol and we don't have a right way to do this, then they're just going to say, no, you can't have it. So instead of getting to that point, let's provide a protocol so we can show them a measure of good faith and say, hey, we're trying to do this right. Look at what we've done. Right?
The complaints that I've heard that seem reasonably valid about NASTF in general and it's not been that they shouldn't exist. That is incredibly small-minded and it's just ridiculous. Complete ignorance speaking, right? So they absolutely have a place, but what kind of oversight do they have? Any? No.
The board.
They've got a really awesome board of directors.
Okay.
And
that's your oversight because you could participate. The board of directors sets the direction.
Yeah, they send out letters and emails and say, hey, if you want to be on the board, you can send in your board nomination. Anybody can be elected. Keith was elected, right? Like,
and again, I'm not. I don't really take sides on it because I really just want to know.
Yeah.
I'm more curious about truth than I care about the rest. But that's the one valid thing I've kind of heard is the lack of oversight and coming down to it all seems to come from the same group of people, the good old boy system, right? Oh, we'll get you on this spot or something to that effect, right? And again, just to the fact that there's not any true oversight is the biggest thing I've seen. I said, well,
I
could possibly see that. But other than that, I appreciate what they're trying to do because they've gotten a lot done for us. Is it everything they could do? Yeah, probably not. And again, I don't know, though, because I'm not part of it.
The thing is like, it is very difficult to get traction in that arena.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I can imagine.
I'm sure after talking to Chad and having some conversations within Top Don, it's not just as easy as walking up and saying, I need this or I want to reverse engineer this. Like, there's some work that goes into this, right? And what my perspective, I think that there are communication issues with NASTF, right? If I was going to say there was an issue with NASTF, it's communication. And I understand Donnie's perspective, but I think he would get more flies with honey than vinegar, okay? And I think that if he were to approach this from, let me show you what we're doing, not like I'm in control, you just do what we say to do, I think that would come off a little bit better. And I'm not saying he necessarily does that, but there's been a couple of instances. That's why that video was able to spin it to the degree that it did, is because of the way that he approached it. And I think that was a lot of the reason that happened. But if you want to know who I'm afraid of, if you want to know like what terrifies me for our industry, it has nothing to do with the manufacturers because they're willing to play ball. And they're willing to come to the table. Now, do they want us to do certain things to ensure that these cars are safe? And truthfully, I think it's a mistake to say it's about theft. I don't think it's about theft.
That's been that's my only thing. Because if you take and you look at, you guys are business owners, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have shops, successful shops. So do you go after things that are less than 1% of the issues?
No.
Not at all, right?
No, it'd be stupid.
Take the number of cars on the road, the number of issues, we're less than 1%. Why is that the focus?
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's not a large number.
Yeah,
but it's not.
I don't think that. I think it's and maybe there's a political reason that it's not been shared. I personally believe, and I don't know this. Nobody said this to me. I personally think that they know that the manufacturers are going to come back and say, eventually we're going to cut your access, and you need to have protocols in place. And if you want to do that, because I've been part of some of those conversations where manufacturers have said, like, hey, we're all for you working on the car, but like our name's on the front of the effing thing. Mm-hmm. And so we want it fixed properly. And so if you're going to fix the car, we at least want some sort of confidence in you that you know what the hell you're doing. Right? And so that makes sense to me. Right? I don't have a problem with that. And so I think that a large part of the discussion, a large part of the problems that we're seeing are that at the end of the day, this is a preemptive strike to say to the manufacturers, we're doing what we need to do so we can work as industry partners, not as adversaries, right? The people who effing scare me are the dealers. The dealer networks are the dangerous ones, right? If you want to talk about a threat to the manufacturers, you want to talk about a threat to the independent repair shops, you want to talk about a threat to some aspects of the U.S. economy, the dealers are dangerous. And they have the money, right? I heard a manufacturer say, you think we're sitting up here with a bunch of money to fight this. Like, we don't have anything compared to the dealer associations. Like, we're giant manufacturers, but they have more money than us.
I'm glad you went there because, obviously I don't know some of those aspects of it, but that's the thing. I'm thinking my first thought is, I understand you want it fixed right, so why don't you start in-house?
Yeah.
That's my first thought. And that's not to take away from the manufacturer in general, but it comes down to, again, leadership at that individual dealership or that group, right? Stuff rolls downhill. And if you don't keep an eye on things, you don't make sure that you're hiring the right people, you don't require the training, or you just allow people to do whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, how many parts do get thrown at things?
Mm-hmm. But I mean, here's the thing. They don't care, right? They don't care. You remember the Noah story? Did I ever tell you the Noah story? Talking about his previous dealership he was working at before he came to work for me. We're talking and
no, I think I missed that.
So we're talking about it and this is before he comes to work for me and we've had a couple small chats here and there. And he said something to the tune like, I just don't understand this place. They've got like all the room in the world and they could expand and they could put new equipment in the shop and they could do all these things and we're really busy, but they're like not investing into the shop at all. And I'm like, oh, they're getting ready to sell it. He's like, no. They said we're all family. Nah, dude. They're getting ready to sell it, right? Like that's why they don't invest in it. And so what do? Sell a dealership. Mm. And they don't tell anybody. One day somebody walks in and says, hey, by the way, we sold the place. We're your new bosses.
Yeah.
And so the dealers, many of these, especially as we expand into dealer groups, right? They have more influence over the training content that's provided. And if you think there's not discussions that have happened within some of these dealer groups, because I know for a fact, I was talking to somebody just the other day who was telling me there are discussions that say, no, we don't teach voltage drop testing. Mm-hmm. We teach resistance testing. Why? Well, because resistance testing is harder to understand. And if you tell them to do a resistance test, it's got all these numbers on the screen and it changes and it's not consistent. It's much more complex. And they can't just like file that down to a basic understanding. So what do? They start changing things and they start getting in their head and they start getting overwhelmed. And so now we're changing parts, we're fixing cars, and we're not training our competition for the future. And those exact conversations have been had. Now, this was at a particular dealership brand, and so they had been petitioning the manufacturer like, hey, we don't want you to be training them some of this. And so I thought that was really interesting that they intentionally were making sure that their technicians weren't getting the type of training that we have in the aftermarket. In fact, they've been encouraged. This particular dealer group says, we don't authorize you to attend training outside of what we provide. So what does that tell you?
I mean, I can't say I'm surprised. I mean,
I know, right?
It's all about it's it's like the education system is that to teach people to flourish and to be financially independent. So no, absolutely not.
Nope.
It's designed to teach you to help our economy grow by working in it.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah. 100%.
It's all to support, banking and money, and it's yeah.
What?
The lizard people.
The Pizzard people?
Yeah. The lizard people.
Who's the Pizzard people?
They live on the ground, on the hollow earth. Everybody knows that.
Wow. Was that a spin there just to say everything we're saying is nonsense? Don't worry about it.
No.
Complete misdirection?
It's a lizard. Mark Zuckerberg. He's a lizard person.
Here we go.
You really
Governor of
think so?
California. Lizard person.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely.
What do you think their intent is?
What's that?
What do you think their intent is?
World domination. Culling the herd, too. Killing us all off. There's too many of us breathing their air. They wiped out half of Hawaii. Who's going to come in and buy the land? Exactly. They're going to come in and buy the land up. So they can have their huge estates, then sell the rest of it off to investors.
This is why people talk about you, David.
No, it's what he does when the lights turn off that people talk about him.
Oh. Interesting.
I
guess.
him and Jeff are rooming right next to me. You should hear the noise that comes from that room.
Oh. Listen, I am just saying that I would have a different preference than Jeff. He's a lovely man, just not my flavor. I don't like that maple flavor.
What is your flavor of man?
Listen. I see the way you look at Braxton, bro.
Listen.
I see the way you look at Braxton, and he's a little bougie for you. He's
Braxton's
a little bougie.
little bit more of a twink. I'm okay with that. I'm a little bit more. I'm okay with that. My preference of man are trans men. That's my preference.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's okay.
Wait a minute.
Pre-surgery.
I was like, thank God he said that because
I was like, whoa.
Well, even post-surgery, I don't know that the things are the same. I can't have that thing coming at me no. Nope. I'll pass.
That's why you like Braxton so much. There's nothing to come at you.
I don't know.
oh my God.
I don't know. But somebody twinkier than Jeff. Jeff is too Canadian.
A little too bullish for you.
And the Brian Pollock is too bullish for me. That's a big boy. I'm talking like he's too Canadian. I don't know. He looks like he's from Canada. Like you look at a sea of people, you go, that guy's from Canada. You can just tell.
Can you?
I don't know. I feel like I can.
Nah.
I can.
You haven't thought about it. That's the problem.
I'm rooming with a Canadian. I have.
Wait a minute. Who are you rooming with?
Sean Hill.
Oh, do I know Sean?
I mean, you should.
Does he look like Jeff?
No. No. He's been coming to all this stuff longer than I have.
Maybe I just don't know enough Canadians. I just assume they all look like Jeff Compton.
Jeff Compton lives in one of the most beautiful places in Canada.
Really?
Yeah.
That's Sean.
Oh yeah. I know Sean Hill. Yeah. I don't think we've ever
I mean, have him grow a beard. It look just like Jeff Compton.
Hey, look, there's Justin Morgan. Does he look like a Canadian?
No, he doesn't.
Justin's one of my favorite people.
Smart kid. Yeah. I mean, he's older than me, but still.
Is he?
Yeah.
I would not have guessed that. I would have figured him to be maybe 31.
No, he's older than me.
I look at you and think,
Yeah, he and I are.
42.
What?
No, he's not. Ooh, I don't know how old he is now. I think about it.
Look, the last time I saw Scott, though, I gotta say this. And I'm not being mean. Okay, don't take me as being mean. If
Scott
David
Hicks.
was saying it, then you might consider it being mean. It's a good look on you, but I'm seeing some like gray
Oh yeah, it's
starting to work in here.
oh yeah. That's what
It's
5 kids
mostly
will do to
gray.
you.
What are you talking about?
Well, I know, but it wasn't like that. Just
Really?
maybe
5
even
kids will do to you.
maybe a year
And
ago
5
it wasn't
jobs.
right. Am I right? Like it wasn't gray a year ago.
You live with it, so you don't really notice like you're noticing. It's like I've had grays for a long time, but
Yeah, it's like filled in now.
yeah.
It's the ball hair that catches you off. You don't have that yet. What? You got one ball hair that's white, and you're like, what the hell is that? You pull on it, and you're like, huh.
It's attached.
Or the nose hair, the white nose hairs. Those are fun.
Justin Allen.
Have you gotten that yet?
Oh yeah, Justin Allen is like up in arms about the fact that I said every human being should have their nose waxed. I don't understand why that bothers him so
It's
much.
weird. Because it's weird.
Dude. It is
not-
the
it sounds
best
like-
feeling in the world.
It's
No, it sounds
very
painful.
bougie. Yeah.
No, it is not. It feels amazing.
I've
So-
seen the videos. It's painful to some people, for sure.
dude. I mean, I'm
I've
the
seen
guy.
these.
I'm the guy who like I get a cut and I like to spray brake cleaner in it. So I mean, I get it. Like I get it.
What? Why?
I like
go
that
straight for
sting.
alcohol.
I like the yeah.
Pure alcohol.
Yeah, I love
91%
that.
at least.
I like
What?
I like take my finger and like push it open to where I can get it down in there. I like that burn. I like the sting. Makes me feel alive, I guess.
I don't necessarily like the sting. I just don't like getting
That is
infected.
deranged.
Yeah.
That is deranged.
Why?
It's
It's
weird.
the sting. You don't like to like burn?
No. I mean, I don't avoid it. It's if you have to do it, you're like, it's whatever.
I don't
You
like
just
it
put
when
up
my
with
eyes burn, but I mean, otherwise, like cuts and stuff like that, that burn. is
I mean, I
just-
do use like pure alcohol for like after I shave.
Yeah, dude.
That's
yeah.
like a shaving, like a aftershave or whatever.
Invigorating.
I mean,
But I'm telling you, until you wax your nose, you just don't understand. Like you breathe so much better. It's not about pain. I swear to God, it is a.
I got a deviated septum, so it's
Yeah, me
I mean,
too.
You might
I'm a
pull
mouth
something
breather.
out.
I'm like,
That ain't got nothing to do with your deviated
Yeah.
septum.
I can't breathe through my nose.
I didn't say anything about. You're a mouth breather for lots of other reasons.
You know, nobody knew I had a deviated septum. And at my shop, they just like, you walk around like this all day. And I was like, yeah, I can't breathe. Anyway, now there are smells coming up in the shop. And they're like, you don't smell that? No, that smells normal. I mean, it smells like shop. They're like, oh, it's because you're
a gas
breathing out of
leak.
your mouth. Yeah.
Have you seen those deals where they put that balloon in people's like nostrils and pump up their sinuses and it like pops and cracks and you hear them like, pull it out? It's pretty crazy.
What?
Yeah, I'll show you a video.
No, I'll pass.
So like they take a really stiff balloon, they put it in the nasal passages, and pump it up with an air pump.
To do what?
It like pops the nasal passages open, like pushes the bone
like
back into
chiropractors
place.
will do it.
Yeah, yeah.
I can't
and
do-
then they
I
like
can't
rip
do
the balloon out of
chiropractors
their
either.
mouth or out of their nose.
They're like, oh, we're going to snap your neck. No,
it's great.
no.
It's
the
great
neck
if you
thing-
go regularly.
the neck
first couple
thing
times
worries me.
Can be really painful because you're
It
getting
just
adjusted. but
one wrong tweak and he'll break my neck and be like, oh, sorry. It's like, okay, great.
Man, I just think that it's probably more risky for you because they probably hate you already.
Why do you
I love how it's
dismiss
second
it?
nature.
Have you
You're,
not
on your
watched-
phone and you're like, yeah, it's because people hate you.
Have you not watched the
Look.
the action movies? The guys just snapping necks. Just
Movie.
I'm just assuming
Look,
that's how it is.
It's not that easy. I hear.
They put these balloons in people's noses, this little balloon right here, and they like pop open their. See, oh, wouldn't they? Well, I don't care what this guy has to say. But check this out. Check this out. Look!
That's awesome.
I can't do it. Stop. So I had a lump in my throat, right? And the doctor goes, "Hey, I gotta check it out and see, make sure you don't have make sure you stop. Make sure you don't have something."
Look at the one. Oh, look at this one
something.
where it blows up into her mouth. Look, watch this.
It'll go out, come out. Yeah.
Yeah, it comes out the mouth. Watch. And so, like, they come out of the mouth sometimes when they do them. Like it goes all the way through.
Oh,
See? Look.
I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna lie. The ones that come off the mouth, it's like, I think you went too far.
I know, right?
You did too much.
I'd puke all over them. Well, I mean, I guess I wouldn't puke all over them because that balloon would be in my mouth.
so anyway, the guy wants to check because I've got like this lump in my throat, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna do a biopsy on it, make sure it's not a cancer, but we're also gonna do a scope, and we got to go in through your nose." I'm like, okay, well, that was the worst experience. Like, hey, we're going to shoot this stuff and numb you. I'm like, okay. Then they take this camera, and it's the size of this cord here. It's enormous. And then they shove it in there. And the guy's like, he's moving it around. And the whole time I'm sitting in this chair with this thing shoved up in my nose and then down my throat, and I can feel the thing moving around. And I'm like, anyway, why would I subject myself to that?
You know, I'll never forget when George had the diverticulitis surgery.
Ooh,
they
that's
had to put that tube down his stomach where they irrigate the stomach to get it to start back.
And they go through your nose.
But they won't put you out for that. And so they put this like huge tube down his nose. And it like ripped the back of his nose and like popped stuff in his throat going down. And it was like in his esophagus. It was
my daughter had an issue.
Yeah.
An apprentice was doing that job.
Yeah.
Well, these people, I mean, if you don't do it but once every 5 years or whatever, like I can understand, but still at the same time, it's a horrible experience. My daughter had a blockage in her intestine, and she ate all these blackberries. She's walking around with this distended abdomen, and we're like, that doesn't look right. Like we gotta take her to the hospital. She was 4 years old. She'd just eaten like a pound of blackberries. Anyway, the doctor's like, yeah, it looks like that's blocked. Anyway, we're gonna have to wait for that to pass. She should probably we're gonna inject her with some fluids, and we're just gonna monitor her. But we're gonna have to stick this up her nose. And I watched her, shoved it up her nose, and for years after that, like we'd have to check. It's like, hey, did you poop today? She's like, no. Like, well, you need to go. No, I don't want to go. It's like, do you want the tube back up your nose? Oh, I'll go. It's like, okay.
Yeah, no,
she still
true.
remembers it. Awful.
Mm-hmm.
And these people are paying for that?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, hey, are you into it?
Mm-mm. I have no problem waxing my nose. I enjoy that, but I'm not.
What if it was a dude waxing your nose?
I don't care.
Jeff Compton, like, dude.
I wax
Big
my
old
own
meat
nose.
paw.
It's like
just
saying, you're going to get a massage. I don't want, I'm completely okay with a guy. I would rather have a guy because I want somebody who can actually do a massage. I don't need somebody
Who
dangerous.
knows how to
machines,
properly
dude.
caress
Like,
the
no.
spots?
That's
That's all
right.
he wants.
That's right.
He wants those man meats on him, just into the. They have machines. You know they have machines. You don't have to have a human. Like,
Not
hey,
the same.
what? What do you mean?
It's not the same.
Really?
I mean, so I was going through physical therapy for my shoulder and stuff, and I was getting neuromuscular massages, which is, it's actually not comfortable at all what's happening. It's pretty uncomfortable.
Is it like electrodes or whatever, and they're like shocking you?
They
Or
find spots where you're in really bad pain.
Just push as hard as they can.
Yeah, and then they'll find either that spot or a spot they know that is like linked to it, and then it's a lot of just really deep pressure, and then you hold it for either as long as you can or until it releases, and you're like, oh my God. Like it just releases nonsense stuff that you can't.
I've talked
That's
about that
weird.
a lot. Is that like because it's immense pain, and then all of a sudden you feel like they're not pushing anymore, but they didn't change. They didn't let the pressure up, and that was eye opening to me, especially with the back pain, and like because like it stiffens up here in the top of my back. Those foam rollers were like life changing for me because I'd go for weeks and not be able to walk, and the foam roller and getting into that spot where I can find the thing that hurts the most and just lay on it. It'll eventually pop and let go, and then I'm fine again. I mean, I'm telling you, that is, but now I could understand like somebody who doesn't like pain. Now, when I get into my lower back, like into the spine, when it's below the muscles up top, dude, that is a miserable feeling right there. That's
Lower
the
back
crunchy
pain
stuff.
sucks. I mean, this up here, all of this hurts, but you can live with that. The lower stuff, that's debilitating.
Yeah. Yep.
okay.